Wild camping's been given a really bad name in the last few years due to people going out unprepared and not being sensitive to the local environment. But if you do it well and you're prepared and you leave no trace, then there's no reason why you can't go out in the hills overnight. If you're packing for a wild camp, you don't need very much stuff, and it's best to just try and go as light as possible. So I've got a small-ish sleeping bag. This is a 400 fill sleeping bag. I've got a tent and a mat, some clothes and some food. And that's it really. So in the bottom of my pack, this is a 40 to 45 litre pack. This is going to be quite a tight squeeze, probably 50 litres. 40 to 50 litres is what you're looking for. But in the bottom of the pack, I'm going to put things that I don't need on the walk in. So stuff that I need for sleeping. And that'll be things like sleeping bag, tent, and maybe a little bit of food. So let's put in here the sleeping bag. I've bagged this up in a dry bag, and you might want to do it in a second dry bag because you do not want that to get wet. The sleeping bag is going in the bottom here. And I'm also going to put my stove. So in there, in my stove, it's an all-in-one system. And we've got a little bottle of gas and the lighter and the stove, and this acts as the pot. Put that in the bottom there. Next, I've got my mat. This is an inflatable mat. And that should just fit in the front. Like that. A tent for wild camping should be small and discreet, and preferably green so that you can't see it. I take the poles out separately, and I like to keep the fly separate from the rest of the tent because it gets wet, and I don't want it to get everything else wet. So let's put that in there now. Okay, so that's all the things that I need for later. I'm going to fill the little nooks and crannies now with things like food for dinner time and for tomorrow. So I've got a few bars, and I can fill them in the little spaces. I've got a camping meal. This is a wet meal, so if my stove doesn't work, I can have that cold. Put that down the back. And down the back, I'm also going to put a little first aid kit in there. Okay, other things to pack. I've got a bit of soup here. I've got my breakfast. I've got some tea bags and some powdered milk. They're going to go in there. I'm going to put a few clothes in now. So for later, I've got a spare base layer so that I can change into it if I'm wet, that I can sleep in. You might want to take a little pair of thermal trousers as well. I've got a spare pair of socks. That's my luxury item because I like to have dry feet in the morning. And I've got some spare gloves here. I'll put them in the bottom. In there. I've also got a trowel and some toilet paper and a little bag to put any used toilet paper in so that it's nice and clean. I haven't got a trowel, so I've got this garden fork just to show you. So I'll put a trowel, maybe this bag. It's got a nice pocket in the side here. Put things like that. It's for easy access. Don't take a fork, take a real trowel. Okay, I've got my waterproofs here, but they need to be easily accessible for the walk-in. And also I've got a warm jacket to wear in the evening. So I'm going to put that in a dry bag. But I might need that in the daytime as well. So I'd have my warm jacket and probably a spare pair of gloves, a hat, and maybe a buff as well. That's going to go in near the top. A few bits and bobs that I've got here, I'm going to put them in the top. I've got my toothbrush, And if you like, you can just put a bit of toothpaste on your toothbrush, wrap it in cling film, then you don't have to carry any toothpaste. I've got a knife and a spoon. And in the top here, I'm going to take a water filter with me because most water in the hills is okay, but I'm never quite sure. So I'll take that just in case. And I'll also put in there my head torch and a spare battery for my phone. In the top of the lid, that's where I like to keep my lunch. So I'm going to put some lunch in there. And also my camera and my sunglasses. Not much left now, I've forgotten my cup. So I've got a cup. You might not use a cup, you might just use the pot for your stove, but it's nice to have a separate cup of tea. And then in the top here, I'm just going to put my waterproofs so that they're easily accessible. The good thing about a bag like this is it's a little bit expandable at the top, so you can have a little bit of extra literage. And on the way home, when you've probably eaten all your food, you won't need so much. I'll cinch that down. A couple of extra things I've got, because I'm out overnight, I've got some tick removers so that I can get those nasty ticks off straight away. So I'll put them somewhere easily accessible. And I've also brought, instead of a normal bottle, I've got one of these collapsible 3-litre bottles. So I can just take a litre with me in the daytime, but then in the evening when I go and fill up, I can fill up 3 litres so I don't have to keep going to the water source. And that'll fit nicely in there, even if it's full. I've got my map and compass. I'm going to put that there with the water. And I'm going to put my compass in one of these snack pockets in there, so it's easy to find. Don't forget your tent poles. You'll be really sad without them. Bags like this, they should just slot in the side there, and you can tension that up like that. And that should be everything ready to go. It's useful to have a set of walking poles if you're carrying a slightly heavier load. Have some of them, and I've got a set of thin gloves ready for walking.